Brooklyn way. Made love the Brooklyn way. Felt like it last all day. It's real love, Brooklyn way. Made love, Brooklyn way. And felt like it last all day. You know, sincerely, Justy.
Hey everyone, we're here with another episode of the Blerdlines podcast. I am Frankie K, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, the one and only
Chancellor D.
And we have a special guest with us today. We have Justy.
Oh, what's up? What's up?
Hey.
Hello, everyone. Hello, the Interwebs.
It's such an honor to have you on here.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here and talk to you guys.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
So today we're going to get to know some facts about Justy. Tell us exactly where you're from and what you do.
Okay, so I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Raised in Staten Island, New York. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with Staten Island, but Wu-Tang Clan, Christina Aguilera, those are like our top dogs. But yeah, I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Staten Island, and I'm basically a singer, songwriter, rapper, whatever I need to be, basically, that's what I am. So I've been doing music since I was like 12 years old. I started writing, and then I eventually graduated to like singing, and now I'm trying to get out here and make sure I tackle every network and just create music with different people. So that's what's going on right now.
That's interesting that you said that you're from Staten Island. I'm from Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was born from
Very
Brooklyn.
cool.
Originally, my family is from Panama.
Oh.
I'm a first generation American.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
My family line is a little spread out too. Most of my family is from like Jamaica and England, so it's a little divided or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely interesting being like born and raised a city person. Of course, Staten Island's a little bit more rural than Brooklyn, but it's definitely interesting. It definitely shapes your music, depending where you're from, where you're raised, it's just all the elements you get to listen to. So yeah, it's very interesting.
I had a few cousins that lived in Staten Island for a few years, so I got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to stay with them for a few summers. So it is kind of rural compared to the actual city itself.
Absolutely. And we're like, not exactly known for our music scene so much. So it's really interesting, whenever I'm doing shows or I meet other artists and I'm like, I'm from Staten Island, it's kind of like, what? It's either a what or kind of like, oh, Staten Island, I've heard of that place before. So
So you're kind of like the outcast of music.
Yeah, absolutely. But I kind of like that. I like to be different and have a different narrative. I think it shapes my music as well, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. Okay, so another thing I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned that you started writing music around the age of 12.
Yeah.
And I did read that somewhere else as well. Let's see. At the beginning, your intro to Soul Food, Feel Alive, you mentioned that you wanted to be a pediatrician and a firefighter.
Yeah.
And what sparked your interest in becoming a musician? Was that something you wanted to do beforehand, like, fresh out of the womb, like you had an interest in that? Or is it something that just came along to you as you grew up?
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was being super honest about within that intro, and it's like, no, when I started, I didn't want to do music at all. Like, I had, like, music wasn't a thought in my head when I was little. Like I mentioned, I wanted to be a pediatrician. Then, like, I wanted to be a firefighter for a little bit. So it's like, it's not like I started out and I was like, I always knew that's what I wanted to do. But when I got to the age where I really understood music and I really understood, musical concept, and I really started to connect with it, I just knew that that was my fit. And I always loved writing. So for me, it was kind of just a natural transition from writing into writing music. So I think that once I realized that I had like that passion for music, it just kind of fit really well for me.
That's awesome. Chancellor David, he's a writer himself. So
okay, cool. Very cool.
That as well.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm I always encourage everyone's art and creative vibes, whatever they're doing, because I just feel like, you should constantly keep growing your network and seeing how you can, help other people, how they can help you. And it's a really cool thing. So I like every day, of course, living in New York, you're always meeting creative people, but I really do enjoy it and value meeting other creatives as well.
That's true. And I appreciate that you reached out to me.
For sure.
I was like, oh my God, that is such a great opportunity to interview someone and introduce her to our world, and you could introduce us to your world. It's just a good way to mix our media. And I saw that it was a perfect opportunity, and I just went for it.
For sure. And
thank you for reaching out.
Absolutely. Teamwork makes the dream work. So you gotta,
that's true.
Everyone has to help everyone out.
Yeah. You have anything to ask, Chancellor?
I'm just curious about your writing. Like, what type of writing do you like to do? Like, outside of writing music? I'm just curious.
Well, I actually just graduated college this past May.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I majored in English writing, so all my writing has been nonfiction. I've always been that way because I think naturally, as a person, I can be a bit reserved or, just more to myself. So I always found that writing about my life is a way of me expressing more of myself that I don't normally say out front and kind of just out there. So I knew that nonfiction was like a really good route for me. And plus, I always connected with nonfiction memoirs, and I just always appreciated the reality of things in writing. So I knew that that was going to be a pretty good lane for me. So poetry, memoir writing, I'm, slowly but surely working on my own memoir. And of course, music, just writing music. I studied music theory for a bit, and just constantly writing, always writing.
That's great.
That's wonderful.
That's how I was. I had a conversation with Chancellor the other day about how, as an artist, I started drawing at the age of 9, and so I stopped for a while because I lost inspiration. But then, eventually, I just started drawing every single day and just kept drawing and drawing and drawing until it became like a routine. And right. So I find it interesting that you said that, because it's it's something that you just need to continue constantly in order to, get somewhere. You don't stop doing what you love.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely been times and years in my life where, I've just wanted to quit, and I've sort of almost given up on music, especially because of how fickle things can be. And, a lot of the music industry, a good portion of it is talent and networking and knowing the right people and being in the right place. But, there's that other portion of it that's just pure luck. And I know, there are super talented people who will never get signed and will never, have their music out there, not because they don't have, the talent, just because music is a business. And at the end of the day, people are looking at what can be sold, what can make money. So, just working in the industry and kind of seeing things unfold, there were definitely moments where I was like, I don't have a shot. I can never do this. I'm never going to be in the right place or whatever it may be. But, I didn't quit, and I've kept at it, and things have just progressively gotten better. Even if it's little by little, things get better. So I completely agree with that. I encourage anyone and everyone to fully pursue their passions nonstop, no matter how hard it may get.
That's true. And I mean, I completely agree with that as well. Because for a moment, I was just focused on numbers.
Right.
And, you know, if I have X amount of followers and I'm succeeding. And that's not the truth because people could buy their followers. They can buy them. They can pay for them. And, you know, they could just do different things to get them. And then at the end of the day, they're being, you know, sometimes it's not who they are. And so people expect a certain type of material from them.
Right.
And, you know, they're not being genuine about their work. And I used to be so wrapped up with like, well, I was in fear of missing out of everything. So when I saw other people doing things, I quickly tried to jump on a bandwagon, but I eventually lost myself and I had to just stop everything I was doing and find myself again. So I agree when you said that you just, you know, you have to just keep pursuing your passion and do what you like to do what you feel like it's for you to succeed.
For sure. And, you know, just you touched on an interesting thing in terms of numbers and such. Like, of course, as an artist, I look at stuff like that too. You know, it's like you want X amount of streams, X amount of followers, comments, and I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to continue to build upon my foundation and get more user engagement. But, you know, it's hard, and it's not because of the content you may put out. Sometimes it's just things click, things don't. So you just have to keep working the system as you're going along and trying to get through it. But, you know, I always, you know, people always say like comparison can be a killer. So it's like as much as you may see another person who may be in your field doing X, Y, and Z, what works for them may not work for you. So comparing yourself is really like futile because it doesn't mean that their method is going to go for you. You just kind of do your own thing. And if you know you're putting the work in, the numbers have to add up eventually. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. Do you have anything to add to the conversation, Chancellor?
Like the one thing I was going to say, you know, about writing for a second, like I was an English major too, so like I understand like the drive to want to put your own content out there. Because I'm so to like write a novel series, but I've been putting it off for years. But like getting followers, like it's something about getting things to grow organically versus like getting people to buy followers or, you know, putting your content out there. Like what has been like your success in terms of like putting your content out there, whether it's like your writing or music? Like where was how was it in the beginning to where it is now?
Well, you know, I think in the beginning I was very young when I started doing this. So when I think when I first publicly uploaded music, I was like 15 or something. And, you know, as a kid, you're like, oh, instant fame, instant whatever. You know, you think you're going to put your music up, you're going to get signed and, you know, go off to Hollywood and live your life. But obviously reality brought me back to everything soon. And I realized that it wasn't going to work like that. So, you know, one thing that I did that I still find super useful is I interned in the music industry. So I interned at a major record label and then I interned at a music publishing company, got contacts that I could. And for me now being 22, you know, the way I work with things is I don't have, you know, a co-sign or any huge big machine or team behind me or anything like that. It's really just me. So I do everything myself. I plug my own music. I have quotas, like send out X amount of emails a day, contact X amount of people on Instagram, contact X amount of people on Tumblr. You know, I feel like a lot of artists, they have that it factor, but they're lazy. So they miss opportunities because they're lazy. It's like, this is not the world of people coming to you. It could happen, but for the majority, unless you're exceptionally different, no one is just going to come knocking at your door. You got to do everything yourself. So you got to put your work in. And, you know, I have so many inspirations in the music industry and just looking at those people and seeing their work ethic, it pushes me to work the same. So I guess from 15 to 22, I just realized that I have to do a lot of this myself, and getting to the point where I'm okay with that and learning, making mistakes, but constantly hustling and hustling. That's just what I do, honestly. I put my work in and I try any which way I can. I try. So I know that my work will eventually show its results. So that's what I've learned so far over the years. But yeah, definitely starting out, I was very misguided, and I encourage any young, budding musician out there just to understand that though many things in the industry seem to happen like overnight, it doesn't happen like that. And there's a whole bunch of inside stuff that no one knows about. Just do your research, basically. Help yourself as an artist so that when something does come to the table, no one's going to like screw you over or try to sign you to a crazy deal or take away all your publishing, like crazy stuff. Just know your stuff. It's really important.
Oh my God, you're preaching. Yay. I love it.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about this stuff. And, as much as I am an artist, I also know the music business, reasonably well. And I'm continuing to learn more, and I want to learn more. And I feel like a lot of artists should have that mentality. A lot of artists, it's like, I want to be up front. I want the shine, the money, whatever you want. That's all fine and dandy, but you need to know what kind of deal you're in. You need to know how much of your publishing you make. You need to understand how your records are getting spinned and how much you make off of Spotify streams. And all these little things I think are super important to know so you don't get taken advantage of. Because at the end of the day, and one of the reasons why I like being a songwriter as well is, you can be an artist and, have your popularity in the moment, but there are not many people who are legends. Legends have longevity, artists. If you're just an artist and you're out here, you could be following a trend, and when that trend dies off, you're done. So you should just hope that you made enough money from your hit records that you can kind of just like flip your money, invest it or whatever. But unless you have like a legend stamp, it's not really secure to say I'm going to be singing or performing for the rest of my life. So my thing is, make sure you have multiple hands in the pot. Make sure you have multiple things that you can go to and plug your energy into in case you're no longer relevant or whatever it may be.
That's true, because it's just like and a lot of people who are going like different sides with business, whether it's like music or theater or like television. It's like you get to have a backup plan, and just any part of life. I mean, and just like when you think about like television or film actors, it's like they are judged on their looks, and then get to a certain age, it's like they're told, well, you don't have that look anymore. What are you going to do now? So it's like
absolutely, absolutely, and it's the same thing in music. It's like that's why it's really important to make music that is genuine to you and unique to you, because if you're just following trends, you can continue to follow the trends and reinvent yourself every time, but you yourself won't have an identity. It's like, what do you bring to the table? What makes you different? And, I try to think from the perspective of an A&R as well. Like, if I was to sign an artist, who do I want to sign? I don't want to just sign someone who makes good records and, has the potential to blow up or be popular. I'm also looking at it from the perspective of what is different about you? What makes me think that you have the potential to even be a legend, the potential to even, morph your own sound and do your own thing. So, I think it just depends on the person. And I've spoken to different A&Rs, and some of them really care about numbers and some of them really just care about talent. So it's just about whoever you run into, honestly.
That is true.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like what you said about, being original, because once you start to follow a trend, you lose yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me for a while. I completely lost myself. I didn't know who Francesca was.
Right.
And so with that being, with that happening to me, I fell into a deep depressive state. So I really appreciate that you mentioned, be original, be yourself, do what you want to do and not do, but don't follow the trend. So that's really awesome.
No, for sure. And I've definitely been there as well. I think I know myself and my artistry well enough where I know when a record is inorganic and, it's like you have a moment where you might release something or, in your case, you might upload something on your Instagram or something and you just feel like, I don't know, like this just doesn't feel like me, or I don't know, like why am I doing this? Which is, one of the most important lessons I learned this year was not to rush, not to just put out content for the sake of having content out. It's quality over quantity. And that can be hard because when you're an unsigned artist, it's like you constantly have to do things to keep your relevance. But I don't want to put out material that isn't best representation of my craft. So learning to wait and only put out things that I can fully stand behind and things that I don't have any apprehension about is, really big for me. And it's something I'm going to be incorporating next year as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
So another thing I wanted to ask was your creative process. What goes on behind it? How do you come up with a lot of the songs that you produce?
Well, you know what? For me, so it's mostly lyrical. Mm-hmm. I don't do the production part of it. I haven't tapped into that, and maybe later on down the road I might want to, but for now it's like I'm kind of a person that's like I like to stick at what I know I can execute, and then I leave the other jobs for the other people, producing for the producer, engineering for the engineer, but everyone's different. But for me, lyrics always come in waves for me. So sometimes I'll have a line in my head and no beat for it, but I just know the line is really strong, so I'll just write it down in my notes. And if I'm going back, I might go back to it and be like, oh, I wrote this down. Let me check out this line and see if it fits with this melody. But for me, I'm big on melodies. I'm big on, a really good hook for a song, a really good chorus it's transformative. And, one thing that I've always felt really good about is people always telling me like, oh, you have such catchy songs, or you have songs that, get stuck. Thank you. Uh-huh. You get, you have songs that get stuck in my head or whatever. And I'm just like, for me, that means a lot because that means I'm doing my writing well. That means I'm doing my writing properly. And I forget the name of the book, but there's this book I read about how to construct songs and such. So again, this goes back to artists just doing research and really just making sure you fully execute all aspects of your brand or your artistry, but learning how to write a song properly, that's a big thing. It's not just, oh, this is catchy or this is now or, this is on trend. It's, executing a formula, because there is a formula for writing a good song. And with my songs that have done the most well, I've seen that formula has been followed. So the creative process can really range, but it's at the core of it, it's always just me making sure I have very strong lyrics and I'm executing something organic.
That's awesome. Do you have anything to add to that, Chancellor?
Just curious about the process. Can you explain for people that don't know what the process is, like crafting a song?
For sure. So this can vary based on the person. With me, what I like to do is I'll listen through to a beat, and while I'm listening through, I'll have things in my head. So like I'll be humming things in my head. Maybe it'll be a melody. It could be for the bridge. It could be for the hook. It could be for the chorus. So sometimes like a part of my formula could start with just doing ad-libs. So ad-libs would basically be like your oohs and ahs in a song. Mm-hmm. So I might just start with an intro or whatever I want to build upon. I may not even keep that intro in the song, but that's just to get something placed there so that I can get the flow to come afterwards. And it also depends on the type of song. If that song is more of a rap song or a hip hop oriented song, a lot of it is going to rely on the the back-to-back of the vocal and the beat. So that can be written a certain way. If it's a pop song, a lot of it is going to be in the melody. It's going to be in the, like, you know, keeping up with the stream of things, making sure things flow really clean. Whereas if it's something like jazz, you can kind of do more of a stream of consciousness with that, and kind of like thoughts in your head, you know, relaying off of whatever you're feeling. That one you can kind of just go with the flow. You may not even write down lyrics for that. So I think it varies for me in that way. And sometimes I don't write down lyrics. Sometimes I'm just recording. My whole first project, I didn't write down any lyrics for that project. So it really, really varies on what you're inspired by and what you're doing.
And leads me to another question. Like, when you're working like by yourself or like with other people, do you work in like a vacuum setting? Like just kind of like shutting yourself off from the world, I guess, to focus on your craft.
You know what? It's actually really interesting you asked that, because I have different methods of working. So I do work with other artists, and I am one of those artists that likes to big up and promote other artists, because I feel like unsigned artists sometimes act like there's like one record deal in the entire world, and we like all got to kill each other for it, which is not the case. You know, like everyone has their own agenda. Some independent artists don't even want to be signed. So it's, for me, it's like, I don't like any, you know, sort of, I got to compete with this one or that one. I just do my own thing and follow my own lane. But I work with other creatives. I work with other rappers. I work with other singers. I work with, I have a main producer, but I'm open to working with various producers. I just get in where I can get in, because everyone is a connect, and everyone is, you know, you never know. You just never know with your networking what one person can do for you, what you can do for them. It's like teamwork makes the dream work again. So building up, we're all helping each other. But yeah, again, I just leave the production to the producers, because they have studied that, they have executed that, and they know exactly what they're doing. I focus on exactly what I know how to do. So that's how we can definitely help each other. But yeah, my current producer, you know, we've got a little dream team thing going on, and we're just basically breaking out records as much as we can all next year. We just came out with a Christmas record, actually. So
I listened to that. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was thank you. I really appreciate that. But that was our first sort of just a taste we wanted to give the people, and he's immensely talented. So, you know, I'm just really happy and honored to be working with him. And yeah, 2018, we're putting our work in, so it's gonna be crazy.
That's awesome. So what are some of your influences when it comes to, like, you know, your music? What helps influence your writing and the rhythm, the beat,
right?
Everything?
Well, I think musically speaking, Amy Winehouse has always been a big influence for me. Jay Dilla, Stevie Wonder. I've always been really big on melody, so anything super melodic. And those three artists, like, I don't know if you're familiar, but you know a Jay Dilla beat when you hear it. Stevie Wonder's like that voice. It's like his voice is an instrument as well. And with Amy, her writing is just so impeccably clean, and it's very hard for someone to. She has one song called "Love Is a Losing Game," where she references love to a game of cards, and she keeps the metaphor throughout the entire song, and that is incredibly hard, you know, while maintaining rhyme scheme at the same time. Like, a lot of people couldn't do that. So there's definitely a certain level of intellect in terms of writing that requires. So I definitely look to her as an inspiration for writing. But in my own life, you know, I'm always writing about my own personal life. I'm writing about love. I'm writing about heartbreak. You know, I can only write what I've experienced. So, you know, that's what I write about. And it can get personal, and it can get vulnerable, and it can be hard to write those things. But, you know, someone told me, if it's hard to write about it, because that's probably going to be your better material. So that's the policy I take, and I just go for it. You just gotta, in music, you can't have any restrictions. You just gotta go for it and be honest, and people will authentically bond with something that feels authentic. So that's really important for me.
Yes, I felt like a lot of your songs were actually speaking to me personally, whether they're reading me, like, girl, you need to get your shit together, or it was like a love letter to me. It's
Right.
just, there were some lyrics that I would love to hear those words come out of someone else's mouth.
Yeah.
And I would just swoon over it. I was like, that is so sweet. Like, for instance, Love Letter, you mentioned Your Lotus in My Mind, and what was it? Apple in My Eye?
Apple of my eye. Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God, it's just really sweet. And it's adorable. And then there were some songs that I listened to and was like, who broke your heart?
Yeah. You know what? You know what? It's crazy.
Up. Or this guy, girl, whoever.
It's just, the crazy thing is, even in it's funny because when I did my first major interview after my project, and there were all these questions like, so do you feel like the people you write these songs for listen to them? And I'm just like, damn, I hope not. That would be so awkward. But I just, you know what? It's just, I'm writing about it that way because of, like you just explained to me, you feel like the songs are speaking to you. And that is my main objective. If you can feel like, oh, I wish someone said that to me, or, oh, damn, I've been there, I've experienced that, then I'm doing my job right. You know what I'm saying? Because though it's my experience and I'm singing about this person, or I'm in love with this person, or I got my heart broken in this situation, it's universal. So you're going to have someone who is representative of that lotus in your mind or that apple in your eye. It's like everyone falls in love. Everyone gets their heart broken. So it's as much your song as it is my song. So, I can't not be honest in my music. I can't not write about what I've been through, and that's just how it is. When I'm in love, you're going to know I'm in love. When I have a heartbreak, you're going to know I have a heartbreak, and I'm going to write about it. And, what the people who it's about, they haven't said anything to me. So I mean, I don't know. You just got to do what you got to do.
I find it interesting. I literally felt that you were speaking to me.
Right.
And there are times I would just do a double take. I was listening to it at work today, and I'm just like, oh, damn, is she talking to me? I feel some type of way.
Yeah, I like making the songs conversational a little bit as well. I think Soul Food does that more than any of my other stuff, but kind of having this conversation with the listener, opening up to you, having you, kind of hear my thoughts. It's your glimpse inside my head and what's going on in my mind, and all that jumbled up stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting, but it's honest and it gets the point across.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Justy. I'm on here at Blerdlines. You guys need to tune in for great information, great insight. You don't want to miss us.
And what I really, really like about your music is, of course, the lyrics and the melody of your music. It reminds me, because of course we're both, Chancellor D and I, we're both nerds, and we love anime.
Okay.
And, a bunch of cartoons and stuff. And so there's this one anime in particular called Samurai Champloo.
Okay.
And you play the guitar, and there's this artist, he worked on the soundtrack for that anime. His name is Nujabes, and he passed away.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Very familiar.
Yeah, and it just gives me those type of vibes.
Yes.
I love it, and just I feel so relaxed and chill. I just want to listen to it and draw and paint, and just I feel calm when I listen to your music.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because it's pronounced Nujabes, right?
Yes, Nujabes.
Okay. So Nujabes, I wasn't familiar in the beginning, but when I I'm very attracted to like lo-fi beats. So things with guitar and hip hop blended and stuff. So that was, one of the bigger producers that I would come across when I was looking at beats, and I was just like, I could write with this, but I could also fall asleep to this. I could just have this playing while I'm drinking my coffee or my tea, and it's important to credit things like that, because I feel like producers and writers for a very long time, they weren't getting the credit they deserved. It was kind of just all about the artist or whatever, but production makes the song. Production really does make the song, and writing makes the song. And this is not to like downplay the artist, but you can get multiple people on a song as long as the production and the writing is really good. So it's like, for me, it's really important to credit that stuff. And actually, funny enough, I think there is a record out right now by Tyga. I think it's called Mercedes Baby, but I think that's a Nujabes beat behind it. So people are playing. Yeah, so
I gotta look into that.
Yeah, you might want to check that out and let me know, because I really the song is awful, but the beat is fantastic. So
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I don't like Tyga. Like, I tried. I'm just like, okay, one, his personality, I don't know if I can fit with it, and then two, it's just like I can't relate to his music. But if you said that he used a Nujabes beat, I might, I might give it a listen.
It's the production behind it really does make it, and you know what? Shout out to Tyga. I'd love to write some quality music for him one day, because I think the potential is there. So,
I mean, yeah, I could see his potential. I just wish he would go in a different direction. And it's a lot with, like, I see the same with a lot of these artists. And, like, I see the potential, and I like some of their stuff, but if they went in a different direction, I could see them actually doing better. But like we were talking about earlier, they mainly go for what's, in style, what's going in the mainstream medium and everything. So.
Right. And I can't necessarily, I don't blame artists for that at all. It's like, whatever you have to do to get your link in, then, you have to do you at the end of the day. But my worry is, as an industry, are we compromising mediocrity? Are we compromising, I hate that people would assume, or it's being made easy to kind of transition into the music industry. It's like all these like social network kind of people, or YouTube, whatever you may do. If you're passionate about music, then awesome. Like, great for you. I'm super glad you got transitioned in. But if you're kind of just doing it, for more clout or whatever it may be, it's, to me, as an artist who like takes their craft seriously, I'm like, come on, we got to do better as an industry, So I guess it is what it is. You can't really control. The crowd follows, so it's us. It's the people too. It's the consumers who make the decision. So it's split responsibility on everyone to kind of, make it legit, make it legitimate. Make it known that music is an actual talent and craft, and a lot of people work years to get to some position, and even they are not at the top where some of these other people are, and they're super talented. So it's all up to chance, I always say. So if you make it, if you get put on, it's like up to chance. Could happen, could not happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Also, who taught you how to play the guitar?
You know what? I actually started playing guitar when I was like, I want to say 8. And then I quit after a few months because I was a kid, too much responsibility. But yeah,
it's
so
like
that,
me and playing the flute. Like, I used to play the flute, and I was like, I'm over this. I don't want to touch this anymore.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, I wish I continued. That could have been awesome.
Yeah, it was basically the same thing for me. So I just lacked the discipline. But when I got to high school, my freshman year, I got put into a guitar class, a guitar ensemble. So I picked it up then again because they gave us guitars to take home. So I just picked it up again, and then I just taught myself from that point on. So I've always just felt supernatural with the guitar, and that's literally like the only instrument I play. I'm not good with drums. I used to play piano like decently well, but because I don't have one, I just haven't practiced in a very long time. But I love guitar, and I'm good enough at it, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. So could you like write and read music and everything?
Yeah, for sure. I actually I took my not so much writing it, but definitely reading it. I took as a part of my guitar class when I picked up guitar again. I went to an independent school as well, and it's a great school. Unfortunately, the owner passed away, but at this school they taught you music theory as well. So in addition to learning guitar and practicing my chords or whatever, I would learn music theory. So I learned all the notes. I learned how to write a chord. It's just little inside musical things that I still kind of take with me now. So although I know that's not really like a focused in point of the music industry or whatever people may know about the music industry, there's definitely a lot of people within the industry who know that stuff, and it's an advantage because it just adds to your edge a little bit.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's really dope. I used to play the piano a little bit, and then I stopped. Again, I never committed to anything music like I wanted to. I didn't have that support, so I was just like, well, screw it. So it's really interesting to like see and hear people play it.
Yeah, it's
with people who do play guitars and instruments in general. It's really awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, it's something that is calming to me too. Like it's a stress reliever just playing music, and then I get to learn my other songs. When I'm doing covers and stuff, I mostly learn by ear. So I just I like the challenge of it too. So it's definitely a pretty cool thing to have on the belt.
So you're one of those people that could listen to a song and then just play it on the guitar. You don't really have to have the actual music sheet or anything.
Well, for me, see, I always start off looking up, I'll go on YouTube and look up a tutorial, but most of the time it's super advanced, right? So I'm looking at it from my perspective and I'm like, all right, so how would I play? So I just kind of transpose the things, one, to match my vocal tone, because obviously I'm not going to go as deep as a guy can go, and some of these female singers sing super high, so I have to transpose it to my tone. And I also try to kind of, funk it up a little bit, make it more my style and see if how I would want it to go. So I definitely I mostly learn things by ear because I'm comfortable that way, and I like to experiment with different chords. So it's a half and half effort. I'm not completely doing it all by ear, but I prefer to do it that way.
That's awesome.
I played clarinet. You're making me think about middle school and high school band, but those days. But I'm glad that you continue to play guitar and just stay dedicated over the years.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm glad too, because honestly, it's just cool. Music is so therapeutic for me. Just personally, whenever I was going through things. I wasn't super popular in high school by any means. I was definitely a nerd, and
hashtag team outcast.
Yeah. I was and it was weird. You know what? It actually, something harder than being a nerd is being a middle person. I wasn't a nerd, but I wasn't popular. So I was just in the middle, just drifting. And it's I turn to music as something for comfort, because it's no one, I have my friends and we were all kind of in the same pack or whatever, but music made me feel like I had something to pour into. Music made me feel special. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of people in high school, especially. It's you're going through puberty, you're still trying to figure yourself out, and you're still trying to figure out what you want to do in life, and sometimes you just don't feel special because like that spotlight isn't on you, or you're not in with the cool crowd, or whatever it may be. But music made me feel special, and that's why I always had an attachment to it. And again, playing something like guitar was therapeutic for me, because if I had a weird day at school and I felt like a loner or whatever, I go home, play guitar. So it's a very integral part of my life.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I have like an interesting out of the box question for you, with the like the recent decision about FCC on net neutrality. How do you think it's going to affect like other artists or those people who are just trying to upload their music online or just trying to get themselves known?
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what the entire thing's about. So I'm trying not to completely act off of, just raw emotion. But yeah, I was pissed off about it. I was like, how dare anyone try to censor what we have on the internet, for one, and two, for me, it just felt like another way to make money. Like, you're going to just add to people's packages, and it felt manipulative because now carriers like Verizon or Time Warner, whoever it may be, they're going to basically try to charge you more to use an outside streaming service. So they're like forcing you to use their own streaming service. Just a whole bunch of like just dumb shit, in my opinion. But it's really dumb. There was actually just some sort of act passed that was really good for songwriters in terms of publishing. So in other words, songwriters get to collect all their publishing, which is a really good thing because you wrote the song, so you should be able to collect on it. But when you see things, when you see these little things where people try to censor or restrict creativity or free will, it doesn't make sense to me. And as an artist, I kind of felt like that when they were about to take away SoundCloud too. Like, that whole thing went around. You can't restrict people in terms of creativity and what they find as liberating. The best thing to do is just you just gotta accept. You're good with the bad. Of course, there are a lot of bad uses for the internet, but there's also a lot of good uses for the internet and social media. That's with anything in life. You get a car, it can take you places, but you can also get in a car crash. So it's like, you got to accept the good with the bad. So for me, I don't know how that would affect musicians. I don't know how that would affect the industry. I'm sure it would have some level of effect, but for me, I don't know. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to get my stuff out there one way or the other. So
that's exactly what
it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I always try to look at the positive side of things. And yes, that whole bill passed to prevent net neutrality. And it's unfortunate because I feel like it helps a lot of artists thrive.
Right.
But I was also thinking, what if this helped bring back the underground scene when it comes to music and art? It might help bring that back up.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
And I think that's when like a lot of artists, whether they were musicians or like visual artists, dancers, that's when they were actually able to, strive more when it comes to being an artist, because, it was the word of mouth and it wasn't always about social media and numbers. And I'm not for this whole bill against net neutrality at all, but because it passed, I was just thinking like maybe we could find a way around it. If they want to be douchebags about it, maybe we might be able to spark a revolution in art because of it.
Well, I definitely like and appreciate you're looking for positivity in situations. I think that's a really good quality to have. That's just a side note, but it's interesting because that would be phenomenal if it sparked, more underground recognition. It's just, I don't know, because like I said earlier, the music industry is so like fickle. It's just like you can't predict what will. Some people do care about underground stuff, and whereas some people are super corporate and they want a super polished artist who's already got a fan base, who's already established. Whereas some people do want to build someone up and kind of, you know, polish them themselves and work with them and whatever it has to be. But I just don't know. You know, I feel for, I mean, I guess less recognized / underground artists, because I know a lot of talented musicians. I've played shows with a lot of talented musicians who have the content, if you will, but they may not be sellable. They may not be a brand. They may not just translate into numbers. And to me, that's sad. If I had the power, I would create my own label. I would sign people based off of what I look for, which is talent and uniqueness. And I go from there. But I have no idea. That's really interesting. I think to an extent, underground artists have done pretty well over the past few years, because a lot of these artists you see coming out, they don't have a super polished look, but they're unique, you know? So I think in that perspective, it's been good. But, you know, I think that it all depends. It all depends. The industry, again, is just super unpredictable. You know, you don't know what anyone's looking for. For me, I feel like you just got to find your person. And once you find that person who believes in you, you can go from there.
That's true. I think a really good example of like an underground artist or independent artist that, you know, just had a lot of achievements this year was SZA, because she just, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but I know she's been around for a while.
Right.
I've been following her music for a while, and out of nowhere she just kind of blew up over the year. And so, I mean, I do see what you're saying when you say that underground artists do have their shine.
For sure. And
I wonder if that would actually make it more like noticeable if we're not focused on what's going on the computer, but what's actually going on in front of us. But that's the only positive side that I saw about like, you know, that whole ban of net neutrality.
Right.
And that I don't think is going to help us out at all. If anything, I feel like they're going to lose a lot of money because of it. So,
you know what? It's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned SZA, because she's had a phenomenal year. Well deserved, because, you know, she has been out here for a long time, and her album was very good, in my opinion. I really enjoyed that album. But the reason why I would say I don't know about any of that is because you can't determine what people gravitate to. True. It's all about the people. Like, as powerful as the industry is, which is why, for me, I hope that consumers realize their power. Like, if you have a fave and you want your fave to win, buy their music. Like, actually go out and buy their music. Like, that's powerful. Yeah, you know? That's how powerful you are as a consumer. For me, I always tell my supporters, it's not like I have a super huge like supporter base, but anyone who supports me, stream my music, you know, share my music, because my destiny, if you will, is partially in your hands. You know, however much clout you have around you, that can say a lot. But I don't know. It's about what people gravitate to. Some people are just lucky in that people just mess with your stuff, and sure, the talent could be there, but sometimes it's not there. Maybe you just have a really good image. Maybe you just have a really good personality. You can't really predict what people are going to gravitate to. I'm sure 10 years ago, no one would have believed, okay, in the next 10 years, R&B and hip hop and rap are going to be the top genre. No one would have looked at that and been like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No. You know, like, they wouldn't have believed it. And now here we are. It's the top genre. No one ever thought that rock would be dethroned. You know, rock is American music.
Yeah, because rock was big 10 years ago. And then it just kind of disappeared. And I'm a metalhead myself. I love metal music. And it just kind of like went under the radar. So.
Right. Yeah. No. And listen, those genres definitely carry their impact and their power. But that was because people, you know, those were the fans who were buying the music. now, if you look at it from a technical standpoint, incorporating streaming has changed a lot, because while these certain fans may not buy albums, they are streaming. They're streaming the hell out of your stuff on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Tidal. So streaming really changed the industry and the game a lot. You know, you have albums going platinum super quickly, not because people are physically going out and getting physical copies, but because people are streaming. Once they introduced streaming into things, it was really for the benefit of the artist, majorly.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of knew that, but I didn't like understand what streaming would do, like how that helps, artists and stuff like that. I just always thought it was, with the numbers and buying and, money related. Never knew that like streaming actually could like push it forward like that.
Right.
I've always heard people say, well, this artist has X amount of streams on Spotify. And I'm just like, and?
Right.
So, after hearing you say that, I'm thinking, wow, that's cool that helps you guys out. It's really awesome.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, it is really cool, because it's a way for artists to grow faster, in other words. And I think it's also a good form of discovery, if you're found by a curator, like an Apple curator, a Spotify curator, these are basically the people who are putting playlists together. So if you're found by someone like that, your song gets added to a playlist, you could blow up off of one song. To me, that's crazy, because that could happen to an artist who's been doing this for 15 years, or that could happen to an artist who's been doing this for 5 months, So it just shows the power of streaming.
That is true. Okay, well, we are coming towards the end of the year. What are some of your biggest achievements of 2017?
Wow. You know what? This year has been so crazy, because at the start of the year, I was very like not musically motivated at all. And I wasn't even gonna put out anything. And then, I came to a self-realization about a few things, and I wrote my debut project, and I released that, and that just got me a lot of exposure, more than I ever anticipated or expected. So releasing my debut project was one of the big things for me this year, because that was a very vulnerable project, and it just hooked me up with a lot of connects. It hooked me up with one of my musical buddies, Jaded, who's featured on my song Can't Explain It. It hooked me up with different producers, so that was really cool. Another major thing for me was doing shows. I never thought I would be doing live shows, and I was definitely super nervous, but I've done so many shows this year, more than I expected. I think my original goal was like 2, and I ended up doing 6 maybe, so that was super cool. And putting out my project, Soul Food, I had out, which is another project like the core supporters really, really, really like. So that was a really good thing for me. And again, that project got me noticed by a label as well. So again, it's kind of like you put things out there and you don't know what they're going to do, but sometimes the cards just align for you. So that was another great thing. And, just continuing to network and grow this year. I'm really thankful for that and humbled for that. And, next year, I just plan on continuing to grow. Like, I want to take things to a completely different level. I want to go 10 steps up and branch out even more, because I feel like I'm so passionate about this. I put so much energy into this. It's like I have to go completely 110,000% to make sure this happens. So this year was definitely full of its ups and downs, but for those, things I just mentioned, it was really great. And I thank God that I was able to do some of that stuff, which I never thought I could do or would do, but it happened.
Yeah, it's funny. You just say you thank God for. I was about to ask you, like I know, looking at your Instagram page, you have a proverb scripture, and how big does your faith play into your creation of your work?
Oh, it's huge in my stuff because there's not a lot of, there could be a lot of mainstream artists who are Christian or Catholic or whatever. There could be a bunch of mainstream artists who have a religion, but that's not at the forefront of their music. And I'm not saying it should be, but I'm saying from my perspective, I want to I'm speaking for the unspoken group. I want to show people, yeah, you can be a woman, you can be Black, you can be a Christian, you can have these preferences and still be a mainstream artist. That exists. I feel like commercially, they only show you like two types of artists. There's a guy, there's a girl, there's no one in between. It's like, that's boring to me. And I've always said that I'm going to be 100% open with who I am and unapologetically. And, I'm not saying you have to believe in what I believe in, but I am going to show you this is what I believe in. And I may not write, like Christian music or anything like that, but it doesn't denote from what I believe in. So it's very important to me. And, all this for me and my belief, all this is only possible through God. All of these things have only happened through God, So I give thanks all the time, because every little thing, it counts to me. Every little thing matters to me. And I didn't have to be here. I didn't have to have any of these opportunities. And I have so much more to accomplish and so much farther to go. But this is a start, and I thank God for that. So, yeah, for sure. That's why I put that out there, and I have that on, my page or whatever. And I'm an advocate for it because I want other artists to know that it's totally cool. It's cool for you to thank God and to openly say that and to mean it. And it's cool for you to say you like this type of person. It's cool for you to say you don't like anyone. It's cool for you to say you're only gonna be a queer artist, or you're only gonna be a transgendered artist, or you're only gonna be whatever you are. It's cool. Just be yourself and just unapologetically have that represented. So it is what it is.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. Because I feel like no matter what your faith or belief is, it translates in your work. And you need to have faith in order to succeed.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean it has to be God or like whatever you believe. You just have faith in what you want to have faith in, and have faith in yourself.
Absolutely. And again, like, this is just my narrative. Everyone's narrative is different. So
yeah,
it's like, I'm just sharing my narrative with you, and I hope you share your narrative with me. And
exactly.
Everyone has a different one.
Yeah. And it's just like you're saying, like, doesn't matter who I am as a person.
For sure.
Just like me for me.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about his work.
Absolutely.
And I've only been listening to it for about a day because it's my first time ever. Like, when you reached out to me the other day and I started listening to your music, it's my first time, of course, hearing of you, but it automatically spoke to me. And it's rare for artists to do that. Like, I have a hard time finding music that I'm interested in because I don't really, like, hear anything that really speaks to me anymore. It's either I want to dance to it or I just don't care about it at all.
Right.
And then there's just the songs and the artists that actually, sound like they're in my head.
Right.
And reciting words that are out of, like, that I'm just thinking, basically. So, that's pretty dope.
I do appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate that because, it motivates me, as a smaller artist. It's like you think of all the things you still have to do and you're kind of like, damn, it's so far away. But, just hearing people are receptive to my music, as long as it's speaking to someone, as long as it's coming across as authentic and it's speaking to you and you can relate to it and you feel it and you really understand it and support it, then I'm going to keep going, no matter how hard it gets.
How do you want people to perceive your music? What kind of vibes do you want them to get from it?
My music, I feel like it's an open book. I want my music to read or to play back like a conversation. Like, if I'm talking to you, today we're talking about this, put the bookmark there. We'll come back to that even if we start talking about something else. It's kind of like an ongoing conversation I'm having with you. And as I'm growing, as I'm, going through things, going through relationships, going through changes and careers or whatever I'm going through, you're going there with me. But it's not just me telling you, it's like me saying, blah, blah, blah. What about you? So to me, it's like an open dialogue and it's an ongoing conversation. But, it's everyone interprets the music differently. I've had a lot of people, tell me I remind them of like No Name and stuff. And it's just, I think that everyone is going to feel the music differently, and I'm okay with that. But lyrically speaking, I'm definitely having a conversation with you. So for the past like 2 years, pretty seriously. So
yeah, like you kind of give me, I don't know if you know of her. Her name is Samus. She's a nerdcore rapper.
I've never heard.
What was that?
I've never heard of her.
Yeah, she's a nerdcore rapper. She's a black female rapper.
Okay.
I'll link you to her. She doesn't make music anymore, but she's really, really cool. And you kind of have her style along with Lil Sins. She's not a nerdcore rapper, but she's a rapper from the UK, and she's also she does sing as well. And you two, like, both of them have styles that are similar to yours. And so when, like, I saw your style and I heard some of your music, and I'm just like, this kind of reminds me of them. And I listened to more of your music. I'm just like, yeah, I can kind of, like, I can see, even though you haven't heard of them, I can kind of see, like, the comparison and the influence and everything that y'all might share.
Definitely link me to them because I've never heard of them, but I usually just hear the No Name one, but I think that's cool. I think it's cool if it's kind of like when you're reading a book or something and it reminds you of another book, or you're watching a movie and it reminds you of another movie. Everything's sort of connected. So in my stupid artistic mind, I'm like, wow, it's like a various continuing stories from different narrators or something, something dumb and nerdy. But yeah, it's super interesting to me.
Yeah, I had a question for you. Like, how was it, or in the beginning, like performing on stage to now? And then you said you did like 6 shows this year.
Yeah, well, actually, my first show was a joint show, and for a first show, it went super well. Like, it was really great. I performed it with Jaded, who's a fellow rapper, but it went super well, and we just flowed really nicely off of each other's energy, and the crowd was hype or whatever. My first big official show where I was like a headliner, I think it was just very humbling, because I came in and there was a green room for the artists. I thought it was so cool, just to be behind stage and to hear the crowd there on the other side, and they're waiting for you to come on and to walk out on the stage. I think that, man, performing for me is always super humbling because I'm so I'm as much of a fan as I am an artist, and I'm so overwhelmed by how talented some people are. And it makes me look at myself like, wow, to be here, it's crazy to have people who, in my head, I may deem oh man, she's way more talented than me because she could sing much better and whatever. For those people to like my stuff too, I'm kind of just like, wow, it's a humbling thing, and it makes you feel like, wow, you just gotta. For me, I just thank God for the opportunity and continue going. But I've always just, with every performance, I learn and I try to get better, and I'm critical of my performances. And if I think I sounded pitchy, that's why I record all of them. So if I sounded pitchy, if I wasn't giving more fan energy, those are things I look at. And I know when I first started doing shows, I was kind of stiff. I would just kind of to myself sing, and by the end of the shows, I was interacting with the crowd more, kind of telling jokes between songs. So you definitely evolve as you go along.
That's awesome.
Is there any advice you want to give people who are starting out on this journey, or from what you've experienced, it's about being themselves?
For sure. I'll speak if you're just starting performing, let's say, and you're worried about performances and how you're gonna come off performing. Just be yourself. For me, when I'm on stage and I'm Justy, that is a separate person from when I'm just like living my daily life. Like I mentioned way earlier to you guys, naturally I'm a very like reserved person. It takes me a long time to warm up to people, but on stage I'm like super just like friendly and out there, and I think that's okay. As an artist, you're definitely going to have your artist person and then who you are behind the scenes, but I would say definitely just create that persona to give you confidence, to show a different side of you. In terms of like just getting into music, just start wherever you can. Start by writing every single day. I mean, I would write every single day in my summers, just write every single day, record a whole bunch of stuff. Some of the stuff you'll never release ever, but you're going to have 1 to X amount of tracks that are good that you can put out, and start from there. Build your brand. Be humble about things. Know that you don't know everything, and that there are going to be people who you meet, other artists who you meet who know more than you, who can help you, but you can help them as well. So definitely connect with other artists, network, stay disciplined. A lot of it is about discipline and persistence. Sometimes the difference between the people who make it versus the people who don't make it is persistence. Who kept at it, who was hungrier for it. Just keep going, keep going, no matter the obstacles, no matter what, just keep going. Don't get distracted by things. Sometimes it's hard if you're in a relationship or if you have school or whatever it may be. That's cool. Definitely always put your school first. But if it's something like relationships, whoever you're with needs to understand that this is your passion. This is potentially going to be your bread and butter one day. This is something you love to do. So they have to be able to ride out with it too. And that's hard. That's going to take a special kind of person. But, you got to make some tough decisions throughout this whole entire thing. And you may end up it just being you alone, just getting your craft out here by yourself. But if you're passionate about it, you just got to keep going for it. So the best advice I could give is like persistence. Just stay persistent, network, meet new people, talk to different people. For an artist example, if an artist you got love, that's a step, because these little things help, and you're helping me as much as I'm helping you. So it's kind of like it's an equal circle here of getting things done. So you just gotta keep at it.
And one more thing.
Sure.
Did you in the beginning, did you have like a lot of like naysayers, like saying like you can't do this or you shouldn't waste your time trying to do this?
Oh, absolutely. I remember being in high school. We had these superlatives, and it was a voting thing. I think it was completely rigged, but shout out to my high school, but whatever. But I remember I wanted most likely to become famous so badly, because I'm like, how crazy would it be if, years from now they do like a rewind of my life and they could say like, oh, she got most likely to become famous, so this was like destined. Needless to say, I didn't get it. This other kid from my school who was a rapper, he got it. And I remember I was so pissed. I was like, damn, man, like they don't want me to win. Of course, no one took my stuff seriously early on. Granted, it was trash, but no one took it seriously. It was hard in the beginning, and it's going to be hard for anyone. Understand, when you come out, don't expect that people are just going to mess with your stuff. You have something to prove. You have to prove that you got your stuff, and that's okay. And I still have to prove it. It's not like I have a big machine behind me where people are just like, yeah, definitely, I'll just listen to your music. Like, you got to prove your stuff to people, and that's just the way it is. So you got to have a decent amount of humility to be able to accept that you have to prove things to people. So I definitely had a lot of people who doubted me, but something I've learned a lot this year is to pay attention to my supporters rather than the people who aren't behind me, because the people who aren't behind you aren't going to be the ones investing in you. They aren't going to be the ones buying your music, because they don't fuck with you anyway. So It's like they're not going to be supporting you, but you shouldn't be mad at that. Yeah, you shouldn't look to them for support, because you already know what they're about. So I just pay attention to the people who do support me. I have incredible supporters. I'm appreciative for the support that I do have. I'm appreciative for my friends who, have been with me from day one and who have always supported me and always believed in me. So I'm about focusing on the positive instead of the negative, because if you focus on the negative, there's so much that you could focus on. You're going to drive yourself insane. Whereas focusing on what you do have can motivate you, can inspire you to keep going. So, you'll always have naysayers, but what matters is more important than anything else. What matters is the belief you have in yourself. Rock it like you're an artist. Work like you're an artist. Believe in your brand and believe in yourself. And that's something that's helped me a lot.
Right. And I'm glad you didn't let them persuade you not to continue.
Me too, honestly. Me too.
Yeah. I know sometimes you have that voice in your head that also tells you that you're not anything, you're never going to amount to anything. You also have to practice that voice as well. Right. And I always, I'm always real about it. It's not all, rainbows and butterflies over here either. I have my off days, and I have days where I'm just not feeling too great about myself, about anything, but it's less of those days and more days where I'm motivated and, ready to actually get work done and ready to put work in. And, it's just, you just have to keep believing in yourself. That's what it comes from, honestly, and working hard. You just have to keep working hard because nothing comes easy. And if it comes easy, it's not worth it. Exactly. It's not real if it comes easy.
Yeah.
100%. I love that you said that. And I really do appreciate you joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
I know it went a little longer than expected, but I felt like we had a really good conversation.
Same here. And I thank you guys so much for having me on here and just being chill about getting to know me and sharing me with your audience as well. And I can't wait to share you guys with my audience. And, I just want to say to you guys, keep doing what you're doing, keep pursuing your dreams, and keep building and growing. And, I'll support you guys in whichever way I can. But, definitely just keep your belief in each other and your brand and your message. And you could only go up from here.
You do the same.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I really appreciate your music.
And I appreciate your consuming of my music, because literally every single person counts. So every single person counts. So stream my music, guys. All you matter.
I definitely will. I'll share your music and everything.
Thank you so much.
Where can our viewers find you?
Okay, so you can hit me up on Instagram at Justy Music. You can hit me up on Twitter at Justy's Music. You can hit me up on SoundCloud, Justy's Music. You can hit me up on Snapchat. I'm trying to get my Snapchat game up. It's Justy the Writer. So you can get me on there. And Spotify, it's Justy, all capitals, and a space in between every letter. So J space, U space, and so on. So that's where I am. You can definitely find me. You can message me at any time. And yeah.
Great. Anything else you want to add in, Chancellor?
I think you two covered it. But I just wanted to say thank you again. I appreciate the advice, and I'm going to be sharing your work with my friends and other networks as well too.
Great, I greatly appreciate that so much.
Yeah, you definitely schooled me on some things, so I got to get myself together too.
Hey, I'm still learning myself. And for everyone out there, every day from now until the day you leave this earth, you're going to be learning. So you're never too old or too young to learn anything. So just, be humble about it and keep learning, because everyone has something to teach you.
Like Tori says, just keep swimming.
Yep, there you go. Just keep swimming.
Okay. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Blerdlines, and we
enjoyed
talking to you.
Thank you for having me, guys. This was really cool.
Thank you. And we're out.
All right, peace.
You're listening to the Blerdlines podcast. Follow us on Facebook at the Blerdlines podcast and on Twitter at BlerdlinesPod. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.